Hi, West Texas, and welcome into episode 3 of our VCast series, Chat with the Chief. I'm Burt Sempier, and once again, we are joined by San Angelo Police Chief Travis Griffith. We've got a lot to get to in this episode, so let's hop right in. Chief, thank you once again for making the time.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited for round 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this week kind of started off on a fun note. Tuesday evening was National Night Out. Law enforcement agencies across the country hosting events, getting to know the community better. From your perspective, how would you say SAPD's event went?
Yeah, so we were really excited. Thank you to everybody that came out. I mean, it was an awesome event. We had a great turnout. It was just a good time for us to be able to have the people see who we are, see that we're normal people, see kind of what we do, some of our tools that we use. I know a lot of people love the drones and being able to get out there and kind of see what's in our armored vehicle, and it's just kind of a fun time to experience what it is like for a police officer on a regular life, just a regular person.
I've seen your officers use the drone up close and personal before, and it is really cool. And I love how you also have the smaller one that your team can use if you had to go into a building, and that can kind of lead the way for the officers.
Oh man, saves lives, man. This technology. I think you always have to be somewhat cautious of new technology so you don't give up people's rights. But when it comes to leveraging technology for the betterment and safety of our community while balancing those rights is super important. So that's what we focus on. And anytime you can fly in there and see what's going on before you send a person in is way safer. Recently it was kind of made kind of famous was they used the robot there in Lubbock, and so those things that would normally have been a police officer that could have had something happen to them. So it's one of those things that as we see the future of law enforcement start to shift towards that technology, that it's kind of cool to see what that's going to bring.
The positive aspects of technology.
Yeah.
Can it be over or understated just how important events like National Night Out are? Because I think that an adult will get to meet Chief Griffith or Sergeant Belaney, and then if they ever call for help and you are one of the two that respond, there's a familiar face there. Also, when it comes to children, you see officers with the vest on and all this equipment, and maybe to a young child that can be scary or intimidating, but they realize that there's a human being behind that. So just, I guess, the importance of an event like that really can build bridges and help improve relations with community members.
100%. It really does. It helps connect us in a way that's not just some person in a car, right? I think anytime you get outside the bubbles that we are in, whether that be work, home, or car, and you get person face to face and you get in front of somebody and have a conversation, then it humanizes you. It makes you look like you're just who you are, a normal person. So.
Are you ready for next year already? Next year National Night Out?
We're excited. And we haven't really announced the time or the date or location yet, but there is something coming. We're going to have one last little hoopla for we're going to call it Cops and Cones. So we're going to have ice cream. So it's like coffee with a cop, but it's an ice cream themed deal. So we're excited about that. So throughout the year, we're always going to be trying to have different events. We're going to be out there pretty strong for Halloween. Trying to get a lot of presents out there just to kind of be able to see the police. And, we always wear costumes, so there's that.
Speaking of Halloween, we know that daylight is less in the fall,
yes,
and children will be out, parents will be out with their kids. Any safety tips that you'd like to get across to the community when it comes to being out trick-or-treating?
Oh yeah, always try to get it done before it gets dark. Like I said, just the earlier the better. Pick good neighborhoods that you're familiar with that has good lighting. Don't go into areas where there's not. Sidewalks are important. You know what I mean. So have sidewalks, good lighting. Wear anything that's going to be reflective. Anything that might have some lights on it that people would see you. And remind drivers. Not just the people out there, drivers and residents, that hey, take extra time, be a little slower. It's always better to take a little extra time to get there than it is to have something happen. So.
Absolutely. I mean, it can happen 24/7, but especially the kids are excited. If one darts out into the middle of the road, and unfortunately that could lead to a very tragic incident.
Yeah. And we don't want that. So the more we can put it in the forefront of people's minds to be thinking, be cognizant of that, the better it is for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another positive story in San Angelo this week, the San Angelo Salvation Army held a ribbon cutting announcing that the emergency shelter would be reopening after being closed for several years. SAPD was out there in support of this. As the chief of police and knowing that people in our community do need help and services, how important is it that San Angelo will now have this resource available once again?
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. A lot of good people, everything from the city manager's office to different city council folks, and have been helping trying to drive the bus. I know the folks over at Concha Valley Community Action Agency and United Way, everybody's been trying to find ways to get there. And man, I can't say enough about Major Martinez with Salvation Army. He's just shown up, done a great job. Him and his wife are amazing. So we're excited to see that. It's one of those things that is pivotal. I mean, for a city our size, we need those things, and I think that's just the step in the right direction to help for trying to prevent homelessness where you can, right? To be able to try to find ways to have some prevention funds and things in place that you can transition out of that. I'm a big believer in my faith, is important to me, and that teaching a man to fish versus just giving him fish, right? Finding ways to help our community improve the lives of those that are really the least of us in a lot of ways, to help give a hand up and not a hand out.
I like to think that every topic that we discuss is important in its own right,
Yes,
but
sir.
there were a couple of incidents this week that are obviously important but have a negative connotation to them. Just down the street on North Bryant earlier this week, we unfortunately had a stabbing incident at the McDonald's where two people were hurt, a 17 and a 16-year-old.
Yes, sir.
A couple hours after the incident, officers were able to take a 16-year-old suspect into custody.
Yes, sir.
I guess kind of a two-part question. Where do we stand? And it's kind of wild to think that young teens could be involved in this. You're a parent. I mean, I'm sure something like this, when it's young people, maybe hits a little bit closer to home.
Yeah, and it's always one of those situations that we have to be cognizant of the fact that when you're young, you'll do dumb things, right? And it doesn't take away from the punishment levels or things like that. But what I mean by that is we have to be, as a community, more mindful that we need to put more resources towards our future, right? And so we've already been working through that, working with the school district to have our first full-time supervisor that's in the school. He was actually one of the first ones on that, helping with that scene, working through dealing with a very chaotic situation. We can't really get into details because it's juvenile, right? So there's protected aspects to that. I can tell you that we have some of the very best people that are on this. I know that the school district has been looking at the dangers of having an open campus, and I can't speak for them, but I know that I am not for an open campus. I know we've done it for a long time here. There are logistics issues for that, right? So not having enough cafeteria space to be able to have all the folks at Central be able to go to lunch, so that's why they have it open. But it's one of the times that we're always a little bit worried because you leave individuals out to their own devices for a certain period of time, then bad things can happen. And in this case, the student, the suspect in this case was not a student, as was reported. So what we can do is manage effectively what we have, and so we're going to put our very best step forward to address the safety concerns. I think we're starting it by partnering with the school district, having that officer be there full time and start supervising the different aspects of the safety on a full-time role. So we're excited about that.
Well, good luck in the investigation.
Thank you.
Hopefully,
Thank you.
All that goes well and you get the answers you're looking for. You're also looking for answers. You recently announced an internal investigation.
Yes, sir.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there was a man trying to cross into Mexico,
Yes, sir.
but he was stopped and was found to be in possession of a couple of firearms, one that eventually got traced back to the SAPD.
Yes, sir.
You have the internal investigation. From a crime standpoint, Texas Rangers are conducting an investigation as well. It seems like this is something you could have swept under the rug and no one would have been the wiser, wouldn't have really made headlines. Why did you want to announce to the people of San Angelo, and I probably am going to use the word you'll use, is you wanted to be transparent with exactly what was going on? Because this seems like a very unique situation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the real test of character is what will you do when nobody's looking, right? And I think that I want the people of San Angelo to know more than anything is that we're going to be held to account. And in a world where the government seems to have lost its place, right? That they don't, what is real accountability? What is true transparency? It seems like we get, I mean, you're in the news, right? I mean, you see where sometimes you're probably reading some of this stuff and you're like, I mean, is that really being transparent?
Well, sure.
And so we want that to be very open and you know, I can't get into details of the case, but I think it helps prove the fact that when we invited the Texas Rangers to come and look into this, right, that it shows that we are not going to be the kind of organization that hides things, that wherever this goes, good, bad, or in between, that we're going to be open and real, and we're already making changes, right, to make sure that mistakes don't happen again. And so that's the big thing, is we're trying to shoot for limiting the ability of anything like this to ever happen again. And so as we walk through this together as a community, you'll know what I know as soon as I can release it. And I want the public to understand that we will stand on the principles of being open and accountable to them, because it's we the people, not we the government.
Absolutely. Just to make clear, this did start under the previous chief. The investigation started, this wasn't too recent, granted within the past few months, but this did start under the prior administration.
Yes, sir. And I think with that too is that we're also doing an internal investigation at the same time, right? So we're gonna get every angle we can to show this, and it's the right thing to do, and we're gonna keep standing behind that.
Do you think the community appreciates when you come out and talk about issues like this, just to be upfront?
Yeah, I hope so. I think that the communication is the most important thing in any relationship, right? And so I think as we come out and tell you about things, it's because we don't want the rumor mill to control something, right? I want you to be able to know that if something's ongoing, and that's kind of the step that we took, is to say, hey, let's be open and real, and not let this be something that's controlled by just guessing, right? We want this to be, here's what I can tell you, here's where we're at, and here's the direction that we're going to hold true to. Our north is going to always be north, and we're going to aim for the mark of being honorable men and women of the San Angelo Police Department.
In late September, you had a real act of heroism here in San Angelo. There was a gentleman who had gotten home from the gym and was getting ready to hop in the shower and go to sleep, and he heard some noises that he thought was kind of out of the ordinary. And when he did a little further investigation, he realized there was a fire and that there were 2 children in desperate need of help. You recently honored that man. Just if you could speak about the bravery of him and the fact that a San Angelo resident was watching out for some of his own.
Yeah, Thomas, man, he's an incredible guy, super humble, works at Shannon Hospital, and he didn't think he'd done that much, is what it felt like. But speaking with the fire marshal in that case, is that the kids you could see the handprints on the wall where they were trying to get to the door. This case, if you remember, involved a lithium battery, right? Overcharging. Right? Sometimes those devices will continue to charge, so that's why we always say unplug those when they're done. And when those burn, they can cause a type of gas that can really disorient you. And so this 100%, if he would not have done that, those kids would not have made it. This is a true heroism. And I think we look at today's world too. I mean, you look at, a lot of people would see a fire and just be like, oh, I'm going to record this. I'm going to go live on Facebook. I'm going to do whatever, right, with social media. And his first worry and first concern was for the safety and well-being of his neighbors. I think that's what makes San Angelo so great. And I hope and pray that it will show the next generation, right, to be watchful for the opportunity to help your fellow man in their time of need. We can get back to that, all of our different differences between religions and left and right and all those different things that seem to divide us. Is the fact remains is that we are Americans, right? We're here to stand for so much more than just our mundane day-to-day lives. We stand for what it means to be Americans.
Thomas Indu, I believe, is his last name,
yes, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
Definitely a hero in the eyes
Yeah.
of the SAPD and the family and friends of those kids for sure.
Yeah.
You had mentioned e-bikes, being from up north
Yeah.
and being in New Jersey, being so close to New York City. I know that e-bikes and e-scooters were a big concern, are still a big concern for the FDNY.
Yes,
You
sir.
see the images every once in a while of those batteries just
Oh, yeah.
pretty much exploding.
Oh, so
and
quick.
Flames everywhere. I don't see too many people around San Angelo on an e-bike or an e-scooter, but is this a real concern for you and the fire department, these devices?
I think anytime you're messing with lithium batteries in particular, right? I mean, there's so much stored in that, you have to be mindful. But I think it's just common sense with anything else, right? If you look at this from a standpoint of, we know gas stoves can produce carbon monoxide, so you have a protector, right? So if you know that you have a healthy respect for firearms, right? Have a healthy respect for the fact that these are sometimes unstable. Still, charge them in a place that's suitable. Have fire extinguishers around. Common sense approaches to things is something we got to get back to. We spend a lot of time on our phones in there. Get back to kind of understanding that, hey, if you don't prepare for yourself, nobody else will. So
Yeah.
I think it's important that we take a look around and say, hey, let's not charge this on the bed, right?
Yeah, let's not block the door leading out of the
exactly.
apartment or the home.
Exactly. Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom, Chief?
I think as we're coming up to a time frame where our country is probably more divided than we'd like to be. I think we dial back into the fact that this country was founded on principles that we were never really meant to obtain. We were given tasks to strive for, right? To try to hit the mark, and knowing that we're human beings, and we're gonna fall short of those marks, to offer a little bit more grace and love to our fellow man in this time frame, and regardless of the outcomes of anything, know that God's in control, and we're going to trust where this goes.
I asked for any final words of wisdom, and you certainly delivered, Chief.
Oh, thank you.
Chief, thank you very much once again for coming here and being a part of an important conversation.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, Chief. That'll do it for episode 3 of Chat with the Chief. Remember, if you want to ask Chief Griffith a question, text us at 325-655-6006. And for all things news, weather, and sports, head on over to our website, foxwtx.com.